Alrighty, or as they say, let's friggin' go. Hey everyone, my name is Nick Pinelli. I'm so excited to be going over the valuable final product with you. This is the one thing that will determine whether or not you get paid what you are actually worth, or really just exchange for what you're worth on it. There is a slight difference between pay and exchange. They can sometimes mean the same thing. And this one principle of the valuable final product will actually take you very, very far in your career, and it will help you really talk about what you do much better and be able to help you advertise what you do, and you know what you're delivering on set, you know exactly what you're responsible for, you know. And if you have all of this knowledge, then essentially speaking, you're able to function way, way better than if you're just running around with like a chicken with its head cut off. You know what I mean? You're just not really understanding what you're doing on a film set. So valuable final product is, surprise, surprise, very valuable to know. Before we fully dive into the valuable final product, you know what I got for you. It's an exercise, simple question for you. If I was to give you $10,000 right now to do a job on set, what job would you do? And let's get even more specific, not just what job on set would you do, but what specifically would you deliver? Meaning, like, if you were the director of photography, what would you actually deliver to me? You would deliver video files to me that were good and conveyed the message of the film. Or if you're an actor, what are you delivering? You're delivering a performance to me, right? So not just what are you doing on set, what's your job, but also what are you actually delivering? Well, essentially, that's what it's really all about. It is about the product that you deliver. So, using the principles from the admin technology that Mr. L. Ron Hubbard has developed, I'm going to define a few things because that's going to help us get into our valuable final product and see why that exercise I just had you go through was really so important. The first word that I want to define here is a product. Product is a finished high quality service or article in the hands of the being or group it serves as an exchange for a valuable. In terms of film, you might think a script, but it might also be a service. So let's talk about, maybe you're a director. There's different directors for different projects. I personally have turned down projects because I didn't think I was the right person, because I couldn't deliver the product that people are actually looking for. And I think that that's also a very important thing to know. It's not necessarily just the physical thing that you're giving, but it's also what the service that you provide, or like the effort. You know, it can be, especially if you've got somebody like a PA on set that maybe doesn't have all of the correct knowledge, they're going to work super, super hard. And that in and of itself is a huge product that I would love to have on a set. If I had a PA that didn't necessarily know much about filmmaking, but was willing to just bust it every time that they went for it, hey, that person is going to become very valuable. Now, if we've got the product, it's also important to know the concept of exchange. And I hinted at it a little bit earlier by saying that there's something different between getting paid for something and being exchanged for something. But I want to give you the definition from L. Ron Hubbard about exchange: giving something to someone for something in receipt, particularly something valuable for something of value received. And then to go on a little bit further, he also says, and exchangeability means outside, with something outside the person or activity. Now, basically, what that is saying is that you have something of value and you are going to give it to somebody, and they are going to give something that you find valuable in return that comes from outside of you. One of the easiest examples of this is money, right? You work, and then the business or company or project or whatever that you work for will give you money. And then money can then be used to go buy other things. And that's another exchange that ends up working. I now have money and I give it to like the movie theater, right? And they will give me a ticket to go see a movie. So that's another version of exchange, right? And I think it's really important to understand that when we go into the valuable final product, you need to have one product that you can exchange for something in return. And this is where we start to really get the idea of getting paid what you're worth, because you have to know what you're delivering, what's going to be in exchange, and then what you're going to get in return as well. So, I mean, many of the same things that could be a product could actually also be what you're being exchanged for. So, money is a great example. Maybe effort on your set. Great example of this is if you have a bunch of friends on a film set that you can't necessarily pay them for. Why are they going to be there? Hey, there's something in exchange, meaning that they might just have a good time just being on a set with you. And that's perfectly reasonable if that's what they're looking for. I'm going to go on to the full on definition of the valuable final product, putting it all together. By definition, a valuable final product is something that can be exchanged with other activities in return for support. The support usually adds up to food, clothing, shelter, money, tolerance, and cooperation or goodwill. This is what we actually produce. A valuable final product, or VFP, is valuable because it is potentially or factually exchangeable. So, this is very important to know that a valuable final product is only valuable because it can be exchanged. If you are delivering something on a set, you're the DP, right? And you're shooting everything. So if you go in there and you have a great camera and you're very good at your job and you record everything really, really well, and you're talking with your team and you've gotten exactly the director's vision and you record it all and you deliver it to the producers, they're able to take that footage and make a film out of it. That is a very, very valuable final product that you have delivered to those producers. But let's say you don't know much about cameras at all and you go and you set up the camera, great, but you never hit record, not once. You have not recorded anything. That's awkward. Clearly, you don't know what you're doing in that particular area, or you've made a grave mistake. And so you have nothing to deliver at the end. So you don't have a valuable final product. Let's talk about something else, like a actor who delivers a performance, right? Their whole goal is to get the audience to buy in to their performance. And if they don't do that, then they're not really delivering on their valuable final product. So we see how that ends up working out. Now, if we talk about in terms of exchange and knowing what you're worth, this is where things become very, very interesting working on a set that maybe doesn't pay you money. Because money is a very obvious exchange, but there are plenty of reasons to work on sets that will not give you money. For example, let's say that you were at the very beginning of your career and you did want to be that DP and you don't know much about cameras, but you know how to hit record, you know how to get the basic gist of it, but you want to learn, you want some on-set experience. Well, that would be a great reason to go onto a set. That's your exchange. Your exchange is your ability to learn, right? That's what you're getting out of it. You're not necessarily getting finances. Now, let's say you're much farther on in your career and you know a ton about cameras. You know what you want to use, when you want to use it, who your crew is, etc. You have a lot of expertise to give as well. That's your product, not just the film and the video, but also your expertise is another product that you're delivering. So you now deliver all of that. And in exchange, you're probably going to want more than an IMDb credit, right? And I think that that's very fair to ask because you're delivering a ton more. Now, let's say you still have a big area of expertise, but you're no name talent. You're not a necessarily big time actor. You're not a big time DP, but you know, you've gotten a decent career out of it. Is there any potential chance that you might take a film that does not pay you? Well, probably not. But let me ask you this. If you found out that you could get a job on a film set where Steven Spielberg was directing, it didn't pay much or really anything, but you were going to work one on one with Steven Spielberg, would that be something you would do? Yeah, I would. I can't speak for you, but I definitely would. And that's because that exchange is so there, right? Because now I'm getting to work with somebody who does have a bunch of expertise. But I would definitely recommend that if you're in the beginning of your career, you would take certain forms of exchange a little bit more easily than you would if you're in a later, more developed part of your career, right? That's why so many actors do things just for credit. Now, let me just state that once again. In the beginning of the process, as you move further and further and further along into your career, you cannot, I've tried, you cannot feed yourself off of IMDb credits. It doesn't work that way. So at some point in your career, as you develop further and you want to go on and on and on, you will have to increase your valuable final product so that the exchange that comes in is still fair, but also gives you what you need in order to survive as an actor or as anybody in the film industry. So let's talk about a screenwriter. What is that screenwriter's valuable final product? A script, right? But let's say that this screenwriter was working on a horror film and they delivered one of the funniest movies that you've ever seen. Great script, but not the product that we were looking for. If you're a screenwriter, you could say something like, my valuable final product is a script that fits the director's vision. Okay, now if you get hired for that horror film, you know you want to fit the director's vision. You got to talk to the director. You know you're going to need that. And then you can actually deliver what that person is looking for. Now you've delivered something that is very valuable, and you can decide where you are in your career and what you might be exchanged for. If you're really at the beginning of your career, it might just be fun to see your projects actually brought to life. Like that is a huge value and a huge exchange. So the production itself might be the exchange. And that's okay, especially at the beginning of your career. Also, another form of exchange might just be the credit. Maybe you've had some films done, but you've never written a horror before, and you want to put that into your repertoire. Well, that's a great exchange for you then. It actually fits everything that you're looking for. Let's get a little bit more nuanced than as opposed to like a physical script. Let's talk about an actor and what their valuable final product might be. An actor's VFP might be an emotional performance. But again, we want to get more specific because in that same horror comedy example, if it's in a horror and the actor is just there like working their butt off to show that they're super in love with another character, they turn it into a romance. Not what we're looking for. So, might be a truthful performance to the project at hand. Maybe that's not the best valuable final product or the most clear, but you see that it's going to deliver exactly what we're looking for. Or maybe it's a performance that an audience can connect with. Okay, those are all really, really good ones because as an actor, it's really important that you understand what it is you're actually doing on the set and who it's for. And actors, too, have this beautiful additional challenge that many of the film crew don't have, which is they need to know their market. I, believe it or not, if I was an actor, I probably wouldn't be playing the football star. I know, I'm shocked. But my market is not that. I'm just not built physically that way. If I wanted to change my market, I could work out and do all the other things, but this isn't about that. All I'm saying is that if you know what you're delivering, then you can deliver that much better. I mean, that just kind of makes sense. Know your type, know your market. A lot of different acting coaches will talk about this in different ways. But again, if you are the best friend type and not the leading male or female, you need to know that so you know what you're delivering to a casting director when they are wanting to hire you. Now I'm going to get even more nuanced, and I would really like to tackle this one a bit. This is what is the valuable final product of a producer? Now, producers over almost the entire production, so they have a lot that they are going to work on in this set, right? I know lots of people. I myself, when I was first producing, I didn't even know what the heck being a producer actually meant. But I eventually learned that basically what a producer does is they produce, they make stuff happen. Why? Because of what their valuable final product is. They deliver the movie itself, which is very important. However, let's talk about our public now, and that would be the people that we're delivering this product for. If a producer is delivering a movie, they might have two different publics. One would be the actual audience that is going to see this movie and how they enjoy it and how it communicates with them. But two might be the people that they answer to, the executive producers, right? They need to deliver a product that these executive producers are going to like and want to invest in. So, a valuable final product for a producer, and in fact, this is actually my valuable final product when I deliver films, is a marketable project with a built in audience that is delivered on time and in budget. So, if somebody is hiring me to make a film, I will give them not just a film, but I'll give them something that they can market and thus make money off of. And I will deliver it on time and in budget. meaning that they're going to get a guarantee from me that I'm going to not charge them more money. Unless, I mean, we talk about what is actually going to be in our budget and in time, but I'm very realistic with the people that I work with. And I say, look, these are the limitations that we have. We can make this project this way, but this is what's going to happen. Are you okay with that? And then we have a communication about whether or not we're okay with that. And so I'm very clear and honest about what I can deliver because that is my valuable final product. It is very important to me as well that it is delivered on time and in budget. Now, on time and in budget is not up to me, it's up to them. So I can talk with them about what that means. Does that make sense? The difference between them, between what I'm talking about here? I can't hear you, but I feel like you're saying yes. Remember, we got to talk about who we're actually doing this for, what our public might be, the people that are interested in it. These could be distributors, investors, in a producer sense, distributors, investors, wealthy individuals, studio execs, really anybody that might be willing to invest in my project. That could be somebody that I would want to deliver this for. And what am I going to get in exchange as the producer? I'm going to get money, distribution, partnerships, experience, credit, goodwill, all sorts of things that are very, very valuable to me in the beginning of my production career. I'm going to need these things in order to make an entire career out of this, right? Now, the big exercise, I think you know where this is going to lead, and this is going to be an exercise now, but also homework for you for the future. The question is simply, what is your valuable final product? And then a follow up question to that would be, what would you exchange for that valuable final product? So, what are you delivering? And what are you going to get in return for that? Or what are you willing to get in return for that? If it is actually worth something, whatever your valuable final product is, if it is worth something, it will lead to your survival. And if it is not worth something and you're just hoping it'll be like, okay, I've got a great example of this. The producer that hasn't written a script or doesn't have a script attached, doesn't have any actors attached, and really just has an idea of a project, but not really an actual project, if they go to an executive producer and ask for $1 million for their film, do you think that executive producer is going to give it to them? No, probably not. Why is that? Because they don't actually have a product to deliver. It's getting intense there. Go ahead, think about it. If you do have questions on this, please feel free to put a comment down there. I'd be more than happy to try and talk this out with you because it is super important that you understand what your valuable final product is and what you're actually delivering so that you know too what you're worth and what you can ask for in return. You got big dreams, you got big plans. That's what we want to do. We want to make some movies, don't we? Well, we have to know what we can deliver along the way that's going to garner the support and exchange that we need in order for us to reach our goals. Guys, let's make some movies, and I will see you in the next video. How do I get out of here?